Order. Broadcast. Dialer phones connected. Initiating broadcast signal in
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Ladies, gentlemen, and knights of the Nerd World Order, this is the Nerd World Order broadcast. I am the man that you call Dukes, and to my right, it's all about the...
Booyah, what's up? It's your boy, baby.
And to my other right, weighing in at 178 adamantium filled pounds, Alfonso X-Man Flores.
Bam!
It totally worked. I smell brimstone. Ladies, gentlemen, and knights, this is going to be an interesting episode of the Nerd World Order broadcast because some of you may have heard last week that DC just announced it put Batgirl on hiatus. Not even hiatus. They canceled it completely. It's not going to hit the big screen. It's not even going to end up on HBO Max. Batgirl is no more. So we got together and we said, hey guys, let's talk about DC Crisis, DC Imminent Crisis. So you got like DC Crisis and Infinite Crisis. I came up with that. I was up all night. I'm a little tired, a little giddy. I've been having a lot of liquid deaths. Yes, DC Imminent Crisis. X-Man, let's get into it. What were your thoughts when you heard that Batgirl was just canceled?
Dude, my jaw dropped, and I'm like, I didn't even know they started production. But then I hear $90 million down the toilet. Why are you going to do something like that when you got your own streaming service and you just throw it up there? And then I thought, well, there a lot of people are talking about this. Is this just free publicity? Are they going to be like, oh, well, since everybody wants it, we're going to put it out there and make all the money? I mean, who knows?
It's an interesting theory, man. I'm curious how that progresses as we get into the broadcast. First up to bat, before we get to Joe, what's up to Replica Pro Collector telling us DCEU needs to be sold to display. I don't even know what that means, sold to display. You're going to have to... Joe, can you explain that before you get into your thoughts on Batgirl?
Bro, he meant Disney.
Okay.
That makes more sense.
That makes more sense. I was like,
bro, because I was just like, display? I don't display what?
It's this new conglomerate. You know, it's mostly the shark from Shark Tank.
Joe, what's your thoughts on Batgirl, man?
You know, see, like I work at UPS. We everybody knows that. We have the system called Orion. So they spend a lot of money on this Orion, and this Orion is supposed to save gas mileage, you know, for the day, which my drivers can do better than the system. And the system, you'll be delivering in one specific block, and Orion will tell you to leave that block that you're not finished with to go deliver in a different block. And it doesn't make sense. Everybody at work says, man, I wish you would just cut the losses, take the L for the money, which I'd rather be that guy because that guy sold a bad system to UPS and made a lot of money. But I wish the company would just cut loose on the Orion and just forget about it. So now fast forward to the Batgirl. If it sucked, which they said it didn't do too well with the feedback for when they were doing some screenings. I mean, they got the same amount of screening results as the new Shazam movie and Black Adam. But I think that was prior to Black Adam. I guess they redid some stuff. But for DC to just say, you know what, dude, we'll cut our losses and move forward. I'm okay with that because I wish UPS would do that with the system, would just cut your losses and move on. I mean, do we need Alan to bash another DC movie when it comes out with two, maybe one nerd flags? Yeah, it doesn't make sense, dude. So, I mean, it is what it is.
You bring up a great point, Joe, which is I think we talked about this a couple of weeks ago before the whole Batgirl debacle, and you were saying, like, Dukes, did you enjoy Peacemaker? And I said, well, yes, I did.
Yeah.
You said, Dukes, did you enjoy The Suicide Squad? And I said, well, yes, I did. You said, Dukes, did you enjoy anything that Margot Robbie has ever been in? I said, well, yes, I did. And then you're like, so who's doing better on your Nerd Flag scorecard, DC or Marvel? And I was like, DC might actually be doing better.
Right.
So I get your point, bro. It's like if they're doing well and they're actually putting out good content, but they have a very poor track record when it comes to putting out movies where they're, I'm just gonna open mouth and insert foot. It feels like sometimes movie studios have an agenda where they're trying to make characters more relevant than they are. And to me, it really felt like that's what they were trying to do with Batgirl, you know? So I feel like it was just a better idea to go ahead and pull the plug once they realized, like, yeah, it's not giving us the result that we were hoping.
Yeah. I'm thinking maybe they just wanted to save the bash and do, because I mean, you look at, Morbius. It's like, oh man, Morbius was, I mean, I haven't seen it yet, so I haven't seen a movie, but they're looking at that, and they look at Thor, the new Love and Thunder, and they're like, maybe it's a good idea to just leave this on the shelf, put it on the back burner here. Maybe later on we'll throw it out there, but yeah, Marvel's kind of spoiled all the audiences with all this, extended universe. Everything's got to be interconnected. Everything's got to be interlaced. And DC, they were doing that, and they weren't doing that. So, everybody's like, well, how come, they're doing it in Marvel? We know you got a big universe. Just put them all together. So, I don't know. They're failing to do that, and now they've got this 10-year plan. They've got these new people in charge. So, it's possible that this could be successful, but they're going to need a Kevin Feige at the helm. They need an Alan Dukes.
I agree. They probably need an Alfonso X-Men Flores to bring in some creativity to the DCEU. So,
So, dude, check this out,
yes.
man. So this out. I think it's cool that this dude did a 10-year plan. What's this guy's name? It's what's his name? David Zalov or whatever.
There you go. Close enough.
Whatever. I know about your names. But he says they're making a 10-year plan. So check this out. This is where you remember this, Dukes, the big reveal in DC at one of the San Diego Comic Cons, right? And this was their plan. Tell me which ones we've seen already. Batman versus Superman, we got right.
Okay. Yeah.
Suicide Squad, we got right. Wonder Woman, we got. Justice League, we got. Flash, never happened. Still hasn't happened. And it's in a debacle right now. Aquaman, Shazam.
Hell yeah.
Justice League, which is supposed to be the second part, which we've only got one part. Cyborg, and then the Green Lantern.
Ooh.
So
we got Green Lantern. It was the first movie with Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, but that was their 10-year plan. And how much of a debacle that was, right?
Oh, so, it was awful.
Now David's like, we need to copy Marvel. Well, 10 years, man. So it's like, it's almost like that ex that, like, hey, like I cheated on you. I promise I won't do that ever again. And then you see the same pattern again, right? Mm-hmm. So she or he just gave you that 10-year plan of how they're going to be better. And you just don't believe it because you've seen the same thing over and over again. So, I mean, it's good that he's trying to copy Marvel, but I almost think it's a little too late. I think instead of a 10-year plan, why don't you just do a 5-year plan? Like you make it look like you can do a 10-year plan and you haven't had any evidence of you thus far proving that you can do a 10-year plan. Because every movie, to your guys' point, is a standalone movie. Nothing connects. Now you want everything to connect, which makes sense because at the beginning we were talking how the Flash is supposed to bring in a Batgirl and a Supergirl as opposed to like the Batman and Superman. And that dude, David, was like, nah, that ain't happening, dude. We ain't going to do that. Because in all actuality, who wants to see that? No one wants to see that. All a DC fan wants to see in movies is it done the right way, which the animation movies have done well. So if I was able to talk to David, I'd be like, why don't you talk to the writers that have done all the animation movies thus far? Because especially the the ones with the Justice League they're all connected. Even when they do Teen Titans versus Justice League,
Right.
everything connects, and there's repercussions from every movie that transitions to the next movie, which they've done it right. The animation has done it very well, and that's what they need to do. They don't really need to copy Marvel. All they got to do is copy their own work and the DC animation, and it'll be fine.
Yeah, they got to believe in their people.
You just use an interesting phrase, X, so I'm going to use it and expand on it. They need to believe in their people. Here's the problem. Everyone who worked at Warner Brothers 6 months ago, they're not the ones in charge anymore, because Warner Brothers was recently purchased by Discovery. And Discovery are actually the entity that's coming in and saying, like, hey, we need to fix this. We just purchased this. It's almost like they purchased like one of those cars that you see that's in someone's yard, that it's all rusty, and it doesn't have an engine. But there's this one dude who's a mechanic and can fix anything. He's like, I know what it's going to be. Right? So basically what those guys always do is they take the whole car apart and they're like, I can use this piece. I can use this piece. I can use this piece. Get me some primer. Now we have a car that looks top notch and anybody would be happy to drive. That's what Discovery did, which is why they don't trust their people, because the people who were running WB, they're the ones who had that car raggedy, sitting in the front yard with weeds all around it, right? Yep. So you purchase that car, you're not going to be like, you know what, dude who had this car sitting in the front yard, I'll let you fix it. Here's $1 million. Go fix that car. No, you're going to be, I bought that car, and you're never going to see it again. And that's why Discovery is going in, putting the brakes on everything, another car metaphor, and basically starting over, because they have a good foundation, a good frame, but everyone at Warner Brothers, number one, they weren't comic book fans. They didn't understand what fans needed. Let me use another metaphor that I can't remember who I explained. I think I tell this to my wife sometimes, right? It's like when you go out to dinner, like you go on a date with a hot chick, and she thinks she doesn't have to have a personality. She doesn't have to be nice to you because she's hot. And you're lucky you even have a chance to sit in front of her, right? So that's what DC is like. They're like, we got Superman, we got Wonder Woman, we got Batman. You want to see them. You're lucky you're even seeing us on the big screen. Therefore, you don't have to actually expect us to do anything good. It's just going to be a matter of like, hey, you know what? Here we go. You're getting to be with us, and that's enough. So I think that's the problem, is they have these commodities. They think that people were willing to just, just digest the product no matter what. So they put out a bunch of garbage.
Now, what are they going to do with their successful stuff that they have going on right now, like the Joker? You think maybe they're going to take that and expand on that and make that their universe? I know he's supposed to be separate, but why not? He's a successful property. Why not use that as a foundation? Even the Batman. The Batman's still pretty successful. It's the Batman, right? The Pattinson.
It's the Batman.
Yeah, So I mean, those two are successful, and are they going to try to make them link up? No, actually, no, because they already showed a different Joker in there, huh? Oh, who knows?
I don't think they actually showed him.
Yeah, but they want to. They want everything to interlace and commingle. I mean, why not start with something that's successful? It could be the backbone of everything. Start with a villain. How interesting would that be?
Yeah, I think they already did with the Batman. I mean, if you think about it, because the Batgirl had Michael Keaton's Batman in there. There's a Miller. The Flash has, dude, that guy's a hot mess, man.
Oh my god,
that's right, dude. And so, I mean, I think they already did it with with the Robert Pattinson, because Michael Keaton was supposed to make his comeback as Batman, and that's not happening. And I think they might do some changes in the Flash. But you have to wonder too, like, with as much stuff going on with Ezra Miller, this dude David thinks this is a good movie, because you cut out the Batgirl, but yet you're still going to roll with this one. Yeah. So this one, in his mind, he has to think like it has to be good. Otherwise, you'd scrap that as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think the premise of that movie looks amazing. I mean, Ezra Miller's not my favorite Flash. not even just going into what he's been doing in the real world. Like he's doing everything he possibly can to make sure this movie doesn't get released, because there's going to be a point in time if he does enough, it's going to be scrapped. And it's just, I wanted to see this movie, and I still kind of want to see this movie, but it's like, do I want to support this guy? You got to separate the actor from the movie, because oh man, but it seems interesting. It really does.
Yeah. Well, Replica says that, the Batman Beyond movie is there as well, but here's my thinking. The Batman, I think, is pretty good. It's a good start of direction, but you can't, in my opinion, you can't create a Batman Beyond if no one cares as much for Batman for you to introduce a newer Batman. I don't even think they're there yet. You have to create a good universe for that to happen. I just think in that 10-year plan, if they were going to do that, it'd be at the latter part of the 10-year plan and not the beginning.
Yeah.
I have to take a stance that is both of agreeing and disagreeing. First of all, I feel like DC Comics does one thing very well. Their best books are usually their Elseworld books, right? Where they're like, what is it? Superman Red Son, or the other books that are part of the Elseworlds. They could just continue to do that. Like if they started to make like the Joker with the Elseworlds logo on it, I think people would eat that up, because you have the primary universe, and then you have the Elseworlds universe, and they could just keep doing that, and I think people would eat it up, because they'd be like, oh cool, it's like an alternate story, an alternate take. And at some point they could even do sort of an Infinite Crisis thing where they have like all these different Elseworld incarnations and bring that together. So I feel like Elseworlds is the way to go. Another version of Elseworlds, which has been very, very, very successful, but it actually exists in DC proper, is Batman Dark Metal. It's just one of those things that it is probably the most successful franchise, if you will, even though it's not exactly a franchise, but it's sort of a storyline, which is where you have all these alternate versions of Batman that are taken from, like, let's say Aquaman is a form of Batman, Wonder Woman is a form of Batman, Flash is a form of Batman. I feel like that's another way that they can go, where obviously you're not going to have multiple versions of Batman, but something along that way where they do have multiple universes that ultimately come together. Now, let's answer the question which I've been rambling about, which is Replica Pro Wrestling says they could do a Batman Beyond movie. I feel like they blew their chance to do that when they had Keaton, and they wasted him on that Batgirl movie. I feel like that was a good time to do it, and I feel like if you're smart and you're visionary and you're thinking ahead, imagine, Joe and X-Man, if you have a Batman Beyond movie that tells you everything that happened previously in the movies they're going to create. So how do we get to the point of Batman Beyond, which could be with the Robert Pattinson, right? Let's just say Pattinson is the current Batman, and at some point in the future, Old Man Batman is the Michael Keaton version, but they're still the same person, not different versions.
Right.
You have, how do we get to this point of Batman Beyond, and everything else is leading up to that. And that it's kind of like if you started with Endgame is the first movie, and then everything else is kind of leading backwards how you get to that point. And then boom, we go back to Batman Beyond / Endgame, which becomes the big 10-year finale.
Right. Yeah. They already did Elseworlds on CW. So like if they would have just intertwined, because they tried to do like a cheap pop with having Ursula Miller show up on that particular Flash show, which nobody cared about because no one cares about Ursula Miller. People actually think Grant Gustin is more of a Flash than Ursula is, and I agree with that.
Yes, sir.
Because he's a really good Flash, and he's a good Barry. So I mean, if this dude David was there at that time, they were doing that, it would have been exactly how you're describing how it should be. Now, Dark Metal. Now, just think if they would have done DC right in the last 10 years, you could have had Dark Metal now.
Yeah,
and it would have been really, really good. But see, that's the problem. The 10-year plan, is he going to do? Because Feige, whether or not we agree, whether or not Phase 4 is any good, I can't say Phase 4 without laughing. He has a plan, right? So like Thanos, then it's Kang. and you know it's going to be Doctor Doom, and then they're setting up for Galactus. So I mean, that's how far they think ahead. So even though David is doing a 10-year plan, you have to do it beyond 10 years, man. So it's like, what big baddie are you going to use, right? So Darkseid, it was dope. The way Justice League, the remake, the Snyder Cut, the way he was introduced right there, dude, that dude's awesome. And they dropped the ball on that. And so that could have been the next big baddie. So what other big baddies does this guy David have that's going to bring people into watching this 10-year plan?
You know, these 10-year plans, you know, they're great and all, but you know, you're talking old man Batman. You're gonna have old man Alfonso trying to watch this stuff, man.
Yeah,
cataracts, you know, my glaucoma.
Like,
But you know, I'm gonna be there. But damn, man.
Yeah, for real, man. For real. Yeah, I was thinking that too. Dang, 10-year plan, dude. I'm gonna be really old.
You know, Joe brings up such a good point though, because you know, it's like DC did us dirty. And now they're like, oh, but you should still trust us.
Yeah.
Are you willing to commit 10 years of your life to us? And I'm like, you still ain't done pay me back for the last 10.
Yeah. Hey, but here's the thing though. With Phase 4 being so bad, you know, like that was their time to strike. You know, now Phase 5 was, I mean, they're getting into Phase 5 and hopefully it's going to be better than Phase 4. But here's another thing, dude. Okay, so Shazam's coming out, right? In your 10-year plan, that Shazam, that Black Adam, is that going to set anything up in your 10-year plan? Or you're just going to do those movies, scratch it, and start and start from different. So then where does that leave The Rock? You know, so like it looks like they're trying to introduce a Justice Society. So where does that, are they going to go with the Justice Society as opposed to Justice League? Which I'm like, bro, I want to see Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. I ain't trying to see bootleg freaking Justice Society. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not there for that. If I'm going to go to the store to get a soda, I'm not going to get Vaughn's root beer. I'm going to get some Parks root beer, right? So, I mean, if I had the choice, I mean, that's what I would do. And that's where the moneymaker's at. You know what I mean? Because people want to see the big three, and they have yet to deliver on that. Although I think Henry Cavill is really good Superman.
Yeah, he looks perfect.
But I think he'd be better. Now there's rumors about him being fantastic for Reed Richards. I think he's too buff for
too
that.
Big.
But
yeah, he's too big.
Yeah, that's what somebody said.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, I think he's too buff for that. But I wish he was Captain Britain. I think he'd be dope at that. But then again, they also had asked him like if he would come back to reprise his role. I guess there's talks of going around saying that they did that, and he says no. And so I think he's like us. Man, bro, what's your 10-year plan, bro? I seen what you did to my boy over there, dude. And this dude was walking around with his head down, and he didn't want to go on with life. So the day you picked this guy's head back up where he's looking straight ahead and he's walking forward instead of walking backwards, yeah, I'm going to just sit from the sidelines and watch.
Yeah, man. I mean, if you think about what DC's done over the past 10 years, a lot of people want to say that Ben Affleck wasn't a good Batman. I don't think he was a horrible Batman, but they just kind of scrapped him, went with something else. They really seem like they didn't know what to do with Superman, which is crazy because Superman's the most identifiable character in the world, and yet they just didn't know what to do with him. If you look at like the Wonder Woman sequel, it was just bad. You know, it's like DC just had no clue. Like there was no 10-year plan.
Yeah.
You know, so and then to your point, Joe, it's like, okay, so Batgirl supposedly is so bad that, you know, they're going to shelf it. But then Black Adam and Shazam perform exactly the same, but both of those are going to be coming out. Why? There's no logic or no rhyme to what they're doing. It's like, even though they claim there's this 10-year plan, there's not.
I'll tell you why. Because they don't have anything possibly being made or done right now. That's the only thing they got.
Yeah.
It's the only thing they have.
Yeah.
They got to get that money rolling in, and The Rock's going to make money.
Yeah. That's another thing. People are going to go see The Rock whether the movie's good or not. unless it's a Fast and Furious franchise, which he made less than.
Which I don't understand why, because I
Right?
think that movie is better than like the past 5 Fast and Furious movies. That is
Yeah,
one of my
dude.
favorite movies of all
Yeah.
time.
Wow.
I mean, they had Black Superman in it. I mean, don't give it
I'm
that.
Black Superman. Yes.
Yeah, man. I mean, I don't know,
Yeah.
man. You just think about like the whole 10-year plan, and it's just I have what other like if you're gonna make a new Superman movie, like the best way I think they could start it is do what they did in Spider-Man. Remember when the first Spider-Man came out? No origin story. He's already
Right.
Spider-Man. It's already there. And I think if you remake a Superman movie, a Wonder Woman movie, or even a Batman movie, which they did on the Batman, there was really no origin story. He was already Batman year 2.
Right.
And so if DC continues that, which David needs to watch the Batman and see the way it was done and do exactly like that. No one wants, you have 10 years, buddy. No one is going to wait for an origin story. You don't need to waste the first part of the movie talking about an origin story. These big characters, especially Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, they have been around for such a long time. You don't have to regurgitate any kind of origin story at all.
Right.
You could just jump right into the mix and then go right into the story. Now, someone like a Cyborg, maybe, like if you're going to do a movie like that, I'm just not to say they are, but if they were to make a Cyborg movie, then you would have to do some type of origin with that, but maybe a Green Arrow, like even though like if no one's watching CW, you would kind of have to do something like that, just so everybody knows what this character is about. But main characters, I mean, let's look at the 7. Which one's the 7? Not the boys, but the 7 is it's Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Green Lantern, Martian Manhunter.
I think Cyborg's on that list too.
And Cyborg. Is Cyborg on that list?
I believe so. Yeah, I think Dukes would have something to say about that. What did you think, Dukes? Was Cyborg on that list?
Green Lantern, Flash, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and Martian Manhunter. So I guess there's 6.
Right.
Not
Okay.
7.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right. It was
So
Unite the
Martian
Six.
Manhunter is on the list.
Yeah.
So Green Lantern's not on there, or Cyborg's not on there?
Cyborg's not on there.
Okay.
Yeah, so I guess it's the 6, not the 7. See, the boys got me all confused.
Okay. So let me run through this list again. Okay. Not that I'm in favor of Marvel's pushing of diversity for diversity's sake, but let's talk about the 6 that you've listed off. Superman, right? Batman.
Yep.
Wonder Woman.
Yep.
Green Lantern. Hal Jordan Green Lantern, probably.
No.
Okay. It's going to be.
John Stewart.
Yeah, John Stewart.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Well, because I'm basing it on Dwayne McDuffie.
Dwayne McDuffie. Yeah.
Which Static and the whole Milestone movie, which is dope.
Okay.
If you ever watch it on HBO, you need to watch that. It brings back a lot of memories.
Oh, I did watch that.
It's really good. But Dwayne McDuffie wrote the DC animated series. If you look at a lot of those episodes, he wrote it.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're basing your 6 on them?
Yes.
Okay. Because I'm thinking, I'm just going to throw it out there. So basically what they've done is given us like 5 white guys and a white woman.
Yeah.
Right. And the great thing about Marvel is, granted, they didn't have any other big characters, but they were like, hey, let's look in the toy box and see if we can't, have a variety of characters. Like some are blue, some are red, some are black, some are white, some are brown, but I mean, like, if DC is just going to give us like the homogenized superheroes, I don't know if I necessarily care for that anymore. But if they're bringing in John Stewart, that's cool.
Yeah.
As long as it's not Diggle.
No, John Stewart was dope in the animated series, if you ever watch it.
Yeah.
I mean,
I didn't actually.
the whole series of the Justice League is pretty good, man.
Very good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you got to
never
watch it. It's
watched
pretty good. I mean, dude, Dwayne McDuffie wrote a lot of those episodes, man. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's that's why they're pretty good, dude. So all this, it's kind of cool because all the stuff that he was trying to do back in the day, which to your point, diversity, sexuality, religion, all that stuff, he was able to do some of that in Justice League.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
So your thought would be that, because you guys are very, very, very strong proponents of DC animation.
Mhm.
So it seems like, once again, you guys are saying like, hey, let's borrow from this because this doesn't suck, WB. Everything else you've done, including those crappy CW shows, have sucked.
Mhm.
This is what you should be doing.
Yeah, exactly. If this dude was in Hall H, bro, and Rashawn did his little abracadabra and we got in there, bro, without having to sleep and camp out, that would be one of my questions that I would get in Hall H. I would ask that's exactly the question I would ask David. Like, why don't you base yourself on animation? Have you even seen animations as for one? If you didn't, you need to watch it because that's where everything's story driven and it's really good. That's why a lot of DC fans get upset because you watch the animation and you're like, dude, this is where we could be. It's almost like your sports team. You have the good players, but there's no teamwork and you can't win. So you can get all the superstars like the Lakers have right now, and that's why the Lakers aren't winning. But you can get all the superstars you want, but if they don't mesh well, you're not gonna get any wins, and you're not gonna go anywhere. And I feel that's what the DC is right now with WB or Discovery.
Yeah, and I really feel like Discovery is going to pull this off the more that you talk. And I really like your sports analogy because I feel like someone had to come in and be that coach in order to take all of these talents and bring them together.
Yeah.
And Warner Brothers, they just didn't have that team mentality. They were just looking at it like, hey, I'm going to get my points. I'm going to get this. I'm going to break off this movie. Boom, boom. But like basically, what's his name? David? What's his name? The guy you keep talking about?
David Zaval.
There you go, David. Something? There you go. David Zoloff, because Warner Brother movies put us to sleep. So David Zoloff, basically, he's like, yo, I'm going to be the coach, and I'm going to bring all this together and make it a solid team. I like that.
Yeah, hopefully. Hopefully we'll see. Because right now, the Lakers are DC. I hate to say it. You want to see them win. You want to see them be successful. But right now, the whole cohesive of that unit is not good. Where if you look at a team like Golden State, they're pretty much Marvel. Because from the beginning, through their draft picks, that's how they got really well, developed chemistry. And then they added some components later to make them better. But it still has the same nucleus. And I think that's why Marvel has been so successful, even though Phase 4 is kind of a letdown. But they've been successful thus far, and that's why DC has not. Unless you're talking about the animation.
Absolutely. So what do you guys expect? I'll throw it to you, X-Man, first, because I think that you have a really interesting perspective because, you've read a lot of X-Men books and you've seen writing done well. And you've seen story arcs, like whether it be the Phoenix Saga or like the Days of Future Past or like the Age of Apocalypse. You've seen a franchise sort of rebuild itself over and over and over again and stay relevant. How do you think DC is going to be able to do that? Like, are they going to have to do these small little arcs like X-Men did, or just one big overarching like Marvel did?
I think Joe's got a really good point with the whole scrapping the idea of the origin story. You could always tell origin stories in like, memories or just like flashbacks. You don't need to go all over with the origin story. I mean, everything is pretty much well known right now by pretty much everybody. The nerd is taken over. So what can they do? I did like the idea of Elseworlds. I mean, why not scrap the whole regular Justice League and all that? Just do Elseworld stuff because everybody understands who Batman is. Everybody understands who Superman is. Green Lantern. You could like do the the Darkest Night one where Batman, he got the ring because he was the worthy one. Superman speeding bullets, where Batman was Superman. There's so many out there. They even actually started doing some of them in DC animation, like Superman Red Sun. That was really good. Rather than landing in a cornfield in Smallville, he landed in Russia, and he was the Russian, Superman. And great stories. They're all great stories. Personally, I would just like them to get back to, getting good stories out there with whoever they use. Maybe shy away from the big three for a little bit. Just a little bit, and you could have them like pop up in somebody else's movie. Next thing you know, then they're on and going. And then later on, bring them all together and have a big Justice League movie, against Starro or whatnot. Now, they already did Starro. But, give other people a chance to shine. Like, Blue Beetle, he's not great, but they got a movie in development. I'd hate to see that poor kid lose his movie. The Karate Kid guy, Sholo.
It's close. It's close.
Yeah.
I'm hearing it's close.
Right. Oh, my gosh. There's so much they can do. They've got a long history, and they got a big toy box to play with. So, maybe shy away from the big three for a little bit. Get some characters out there who people can relate with. Like Spider-Man type characters, Miss Marvel type characters, and get people behind them, get the ball rolling, and then as the ball rolls, make it bigger and bigger and bigger, and boom. You don't have to start big. So
yes, you do. I disagree. You have to. You don't have time to let it marinate like that. DC does not have time. They have to come out swinging. They have to do the Babe Ruth where they port in the sky and hit a home run. They don't have the luxury of using a character no one's ever heard of before to see if it's going to work. You know why? Because they're not Marvel. Marvel can do that because Marvel has demonstrated that they can come out with movies that way and still be a hit. DC hasn't demonstrated. Dude, DC has used their most powerful characters and still hasn't done anything with the movies. They don't have the luxury of bringing somebody that no one's ever heard of before to see if the movie's going to be successful. They don't have that time. They have to use their big main three to establish where they're going to go, and it has to be a hit. They don't have the luxury because a 10-year plan, if you don't come out with your strongest characters and make a good movie, no one's going to be there for the 9 years, 8 years, 7. No one's going to invest. No one's going to want to do that, which I think it's dope that they have their own division segregated, even though I don't like that word, separated, that just like Marvel is with Disney, it's separated. It has their own thing. And that's what DC is doing. There's from Discovery, they're separating DC as their own franchise and creating it as such. So they don't have the time to, hey, let's roll the dice and try to see if everybody knows. Because the thing about the Blue Beetle movie is he's in Young Justice.
Yeah. Right?
And so if you look at the way Marvel is doing, it's exactly what Alan said. You have different categories. You got like the street, you got the main hero, you got the cosmos, you got the sorceries, and then they're also creating the Young Avengers, as you can tell.
Yeah.
Now DC's coming up with Blue Beetle, who is not a Justice League member. He's a Young Justice member. So to the point is like you don't have time. That's if they would have done it right, they could have created like a younger version of like Justice League, which is called the Young Justice. But I don't think they have the luxury to do that.
But you're thinking also like maybe one movie a year, 2 movies. Why not do 3 movies a year? They got the talent, they've got the money, they've got the resources, they've got their own studios. Put 3 movies out a year. Compete against Marvel. You could have 2 up and comers and 1 big gun, right? And then they all flow together. I don't know. I think they got to stop thinking that they got to do it the same way Marvel did. I think they got to definitely start thinking they got to stop doing it the way they did. So they got to do something different. Come out like you said, guns blazing, not a problem. But do 2 or 3, do 3 movies a year. Put them all out there, get them going. 10 years is a long time, and I'm not getting younger, man. I want to see these movies.
Yeah, well, they're already copying Marvel with the 10-year plan, anyways.
Right.
They're like, hey, Alan, I'm going to cheat off you. Alfonso, I'm going to cheat off you too. Which we've been saying that for a long time. They should have copied the format, which I'm okay with. Again, but copy your own material source from the comics and animation. You don't have to copy Marvel.
I agree.
Yeah, the more that you guys talk about this, the more disappointed I become. Because Peacemaker, I love that show.
So
Where's it
really
gonna go?
good. Yeah, really good.
Yeah, I love the Suicide Squad.
Mhm.
Where's it gonna go? I thought that the Batman was worth seeing another one. I think that Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn is amazing. Where's
Mhm.
she gonna go?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna say this, and I've probably never admitted this before. Okay, I really liked Aquaman. I thought it was a pretty decent movie.
I
Okay.
knew you did. I knew you did. I knew you did, bro. I knew you did.
He's been denying it.
What's going to happen to that? And of course, the greatest question is the greatest DC movie of all time, Shazam,
Mhm.
uh, Revenge of the Gods.
Mhm.
What's going to happen to that?
Mhm.
It's like all these great properties that DC has come up with, all these great things they've done are just, they're in jeopardy of going down the tubes with all of the bad stuff like Justice League and Superman and Wonder Woman and the Batman franchises. And the more that you guys talk about it, all of their big tentpole properties, all the things that people would go to see anyway, they gave no effort into putting those movies together. They
Yeah.
just threw some trash out there and it was like, boom, we all went and watched it.
Mhm.
You know what made more money? Justice League. What was a better movie? You could say Aquaman, you could say Shazam, but they made less
Mhm.
money. You know
Mhm.
why? Because it had Superman, Batman, and
Mhm.
Wonder Woman in it. That's all it took.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's really disappointing. Now, let me agree with Alfonso for a second. I agree with Joe that DC does not have the luxury of trying to get it right, you know? But the problem is, we've already seen it. We've seen the 10-year plan. We don't want to see it again. We
Mhm.
want you to give us something new and unique. And I'm going to use James Gunn as the perfect example.
Mhm.
Nobody wanted to see Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yep.
Nobody, right? But he gave us something completely different. Nobody wanted to see Peacemaker, but James Gunn gave us a damn good Peacemaker, right? Nobody wanted to see the Suicide Squad again, but James Gunn gave us a badass Suicide Squad. You know why? Because he's completely outside of the box. He doesn't do Marvel movies. He doesn't do DC movies. He does James Gunn movies. And that's what DC has to do. They have to say, hey, James Gunn, we understand you got fired from Marvel and you got one movie left
Yeah.
over here, my dude.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what they need to do is come up with something different.
They need to Kevin Feige him.
Yes,
Mhm.
Put him in
exactly.
charge of everything.
I think they said the David guy is a Kevin Feige kind of guy, is what they're saying.
We'll
That's
see.
yeah, exactly, man. So I'm wondering. I'm gonna ask a question to both of you: is if, to your point, Alfie, if you were going to create a movie without the big three, which DC characters would you roll the dice on to try to get people to like?
You know, they could easily do like a Bat family movie without Batman,
Mhm.
like Batman's gone. You
Yeah.
know, that they've got a lot of people. You got all the Robins. You know, you got Nightwing who's trying not to be. I don't know. I'm real quick. Did you see the
Mhm.
Harley Quinn episode with Nightwing?
Yeah. Well, he's been in there a few times.
Oh,
Yeah.
like the latest one. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
it's so freaking funny. But something like that. What would be some other? I mean, you could
But-
even do like a Green Lantern core movie, right?
Mhm.
You don't have to have any of the big Green Lanterns there.
Mhm.
Introduce all these characters and he come in at the end, or
Mhm.
I
Well,
mean,
you would
maybe-
have to like, well, with the to your point with the Bat family, I think that's
Mhm.
what the Batman director Matt Reeves is trying to do, is create his own Batman universe. So that's already
Right.
taken care of.
Oh, good.
So I mean, what other characters would you? I mean, Dr. Fate would be a good one, but Dr. Fate is in Black Adam. But do you give
Right.
him his own movie? You know,
Yeah.
so it's
It's
you
tough
know-
because I'm a big Marvel guy, and like to think of like DC characters off the bat, of course I
Mhm.
go to the big three. You could even I'd go for Apache Chief, man. Bring him back. Chuck.
see that there goes the dilemma, bro. So like, if you can't figure out which characters that you would see a movie with, then
Right.
the casual fan doesn't care.
Well, you see,
So
I would have
you-
never came up with Guardians of the Galaxy, and
exactly, but think of when the Guardians of the Galaxy came out. Marvel was
Right.
hot.
Yeah.
You have the luxury of doing that.
yeah,
Iron Man started off everything. I never bought an Iron Man comic.
Nope.
No one loved Iron Man. I mean, you had some fans, but I know me and Dukes never bought an Iron Man comic unless it was a crossover between like the X-Men, or battling the Avengers. But if you can make Iron Man the most beloved character in the Marvel universe and have the deep connection when he dies, how everybody was just stunned. That's Marvel. You know what I mean? Does
Yeah.
DC have the ability to do that? And what characters are you going to bring in? I think Zatanna would be dope. I know Alan
Most
would
definitely.
be cool with that. So I mean, you got Zatanna. You got 3 different freaking Flashes you can use if you wanted to.
Yep.
But it seems like if you think about it, like all DC is predominantly is the big 3, the
Yeah.
Trinity. That's why they call them the Trinity. That's their breadwinner.
Yeah.
If you look at any other DC characters, I mean, what do you think, Dukes? What DC characters you come out with that's going to make, you know what I mean, that you could develop to where people want to see?
That is such a challenging question because I'm a huge fan of Milestone.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I feel like they could go with that. If you want to completely reinvent yourself,
Mm-hmm.
scrap the DC plan for, 10
Yeah.
years. Just do Milestone.
Bro, I totally agree. Right now, look how well Black Panther did. Right now, everybody wants to see ourselves represented on the big screen.
Yeah.
I mean, so
Yeah.
like you got Icon, right? You got Rocket, you got Static.
Yeah.
Static
Right.
supposedly has like a live action movie coming out soon.
Right?
You got the Blood Syndicate. So it's
Yeah.
you have a good start there.
Yeah. And they recently released it and it's doing fairly well. And,
Yeah.
if you start off with a Static movie, because I feel like every franchise has to have its version of Spider-Man, Static is Milestone Spider-Man. You start off with him, a cameo at the end with Icon, or even because I feel like Warner Brothers Discovery is going to have a great opportunity to leverage the HBO Max. If you have a few of the Milestone shows on HBO Max, like Hardware or Blood Syndicate on HBO Max, they're going to kill it because that's going to get the interest up. And then you have an Icon movie. You introduce Rocket on the HBO Max and then have her roll into an Icon movie. That's what they need to do.
Yeah.
And then and don't forget there's a DC Vertigo. Like right now you got the Sandman on Netflix. And it's really good. I mean, with that, you got, Death, the High Cost of Living. It's cool, too, because, I mean, in this show, you get to see some characters that you're kind of familiar with, like Constantine, but it's not John Constantine. It's Joanna Constantine. And then, everybody was thinking that, the Lucifer from the Lucifer show was going to show up when they end up going to hell. And it wasn't that Lucifer. It was a different Lucifer. And this show is so well done. And I haven't read the books, but I hear they're so close to what the books are, and they're very story driven. I mean, Joe, you've seen some of them, right?
I've watched the whole thing already.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I did it on one day actually.
And your thoughts on that?
It's really good, dude. Yeah. Like it's not, to your point, it's very story driven. It's some action, but the special effects are really good. I mean, they could have used that to make the mustache a little bit not there. You know what, dude? I did a TikTok video, right? And I accidentally hit send instead of drafting it. So I couldn't like screen record it. And then, so it has the watermark of TikTok on there, right? So there's an app that takes it out. And it looked exactly like the app that someone used to take Superman's mustache.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Like you still see the thing on the, what I mean? Like, what the hell is this, dude? And I got this app for free, bro. And it did the same, so I mean, but the special effects was good on that. Like it's done well. The casting is really good. I didn't have an issue with anybody on the cast. Yeah. And the story was really good. I mean, it's super story driven. And I enjoyed every episode. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's good, man. And you just gave me an idea. I'm gonna have to find a picture of me from Comic-Con as dressed up as a bazooka and see if I can digitally remove my mustache.
You know what, Alfie? I'm sure you can do better.
You know, Joe, you brought up a really good point, Alfonso. You kind of got it started, which is it gets back to my point, which is the things that DC has not leveraged its entire franchise on are the things that get the most critical acclaim. I would say Joe Q Public does not know about Sandman, does not know about Neil Gaiman, but this show is blowing it out of the park, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know now.
Yeah, Suicide Squad. People didn't know about that.
Yeah.
Shazam. Unfortunately, my conversations with people about Shazam, I'm like, yeah, Shazam is the best, DC movie ever, and people are like, what? You mean with Shaquille O'Neal? But it got like great critical acclaim,
Mm-hmm.
and it's one of those things where if DC's executives just leave it alone, it's going to do better.
Mm-hmm.
And I think getting back to my previous point, I feel like now that those executives are removed from the leadership, it's
Mhm.
going to allow people that actually love and care about the art and the source material to really make this product shine.
Yeah, I mean, I could when they have a whole department devoted to just the DC, I think that's a good sign. But I don't know if you remember this in junior high, Alan, but people used to fold up their remember the little plastic folders, and it would hit you in the nuts with them. And so, like, that was the game. I mean, when we were young kids, that was the game. So once you get hit and you drop to your knees, anyone walking with the folded up folder, you were just going to cover up for protection. And I think that's what everybody's doing with this DC thing. You already hit us a good one, and it hurts really badly. And I think you're going to do it again. Prove me wrong. Yeah, you just got to do better, man. Let's just do better. I mean, it's so bad, they have no choice but to do better. It's so bad. All you have is up, but just do better, DC. Yeah. Do better, David.
Yeah. So as we start to go almost across the finish line here, let me ask you guys. So Batgirl has been scrapped, but people are saying that Shazam and Black Adam did just as well or just as poorly, depending on how you look at it. And then there's also the Ezra Miller project that is still coming out soon. And I just like to say, we see Ezra Miller as a they or a them, not necessarily a he or a him, because we do respect that. However, in this case, we are speaking to what we visually see.
Flash.
And there we go. With that being said, guys, we've got Shazam, possibly Flashpoint, possibly, let's see here. What is it? Black Adam.
It's an Aquaman 2 almost done too?
Oh, yeah. Aquaman 2 is almost out. And we're looking forward to them basically erasing Amber Heard from everything and replacing her with Ben Affleck. What do you guys think? These next 4 movies here, these next 3 movies, how do you think they're going to do?
I think the Flash is going to get a lot of backlash. I think the numbers aren't going to be great. I think Aquaman 2 might suffer the same fate, but I think it's going to do a little bit better than the Flash. Oh my gosh, give me the other 2 again.
Shazam, greatest movie ever made, and Black Adam.
Shazam's going to be great. Shazam's going to be a lot of fun. I really think Shazam might follow suit with Thor: Love and Thunder, whereas Alfonso's going to like it, and a lot of people, Alan's actually going to like this one, and a lot of people are going to be like, maybe, because they're going a little too campy with it. And then Black Adam. My fear is that Black Adam is going to take itself way too seriously, because sometimes The Rock can do that, and he's got that whole thing in his contract where he doesn't lose, and I'm concerned with Black Adam. I want it bad. I really do. I want to see it, but I'm concerned that he just might take it a little too seriously, and it's going to be a problem. What about you?
I'm going to jump in because Joe is the DC fan, and I want him to finish it off. give us his. Because I feel like you're the X-Men fan.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm more of the Marvel fanboy, and Joe stays loyal to DC even when he knows they're putting out some trash. So I feel like Aquaman is actually going to be pretty good. I feel like there's an opportunity there. I feel like they should have left Amber Heard in, because even though the stuff that she's accused of doing, and perhaps in some ways convicted of doing, is, let's say, reprehensible, that would be an accurate word. I feel like they're going to lose momentum by trying to remove her from the movie and yet still keep things going. So I feel like that's going to be a problem. It's going to basically create a disjointed movie. But I'm still going to watch it, and I feel like Jason Momoa does a great job as Aquaman. Not the real Aquaman. I feel like Jason Momoa is a Aquaman. He's like an Elseworlds Aquaman. Like, I feel like every version of Aquaman I've ever read is not the Jason Momoa Aquaman. But hey, he's cool. He does the job.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Then we have, let's see here. I don't think Flashpoint will ever be released. I mean, I saw some articles crossing my timeline today that now Ezra Miller, they are in additional trouble. It's like, come on, my bae. It's like, let's just stop, dude. Like, just sit down. You have enough money. Just sit on the couch and watch TV or something.
Right.
Just stop it, right? That's never going to be released. They are just way into a series of mental challenges that needs to be addressed. So actually, shame on his friends and family for not, pulling him aside. Because I know if I was on some stuff, you guys would be like, dupes. We got to sit down and talk. But his friends and family are like, let's cash that check.
Cha-ching.
I think Black Adam is going to be it's going to be kind of like Batman versus Superman, where it just takes itself way too seriously. And I feel like it's just going to be a hot mess. I don't know what trailer you guys saw for Shazam, but I love that trailer.
Oh yeah,
I thought it was awesome. I don't like Joe said the trailer stunk. Alfonso's over here with the blasphemy.com. I thought that was an awesome trailer. So I think that DC has 2 movies coming out that are both going to be challenging. Flashpoint will never see the light of day. And then Shazam is going to be really good, but no one's going to watch it because no one watched the last one.
Anyway, before you get into your things, I want to say, everybody out there listening, please go watch Aquaman 2 so that Johnny Depp can get his money from Amber Heard.
Yeah.
That is facts.
Proceed.
Joe, the floor is yours.
Well, I think Aquaman would do well. Just I mean, look at all the petitions that everybody signed to get Amber Heard out. Now everybody's going to watch it to prove that she sucks. So they're going to make sure that this Aquaman movie makes money because she sucks. Or you can get the other people, to your point, like to help out Johnny Depp to get his money because she ain't paid. So, I mean, either way, I think that movie's going to do very well because it has to do well just because of the whole Amber Heard thing. I think Shazam is going to be Shazam. I mean, I think it's just the same thing as it was the first movie. They're going to keep the same formula. I don't think it's going to be any different. Then you have Black Adam, which I think is like Venom, right? Remember Spider-Man with Venom, where there's too many people in one movie. So I think unless they develop them the right way, they got like 4 different heroes in there. So I mean, I don't even know if that's going to be it's going to be a rock movie regardless. It's not, to me, I don't think it's going to be a hero movie. I think it's going to be a rock movie. It's going to be like every other rock movie that's out. And so, you're going to get action. You're going to get a few jabs of jokes. You know what I mean? And that's, take it for what it is. And then you have, what was the other one, dude? I don't even remember.
Did you talk about Flashpoint?
Oh yeah, Flashpoint. That's right. I don't remember about that because it's gonna suck. I mean, I think it had aspirations to be really good, but I don't know if DC, like wants to take that L. They're probably still debating on whether or not they want to take that L. But I mean, his charges just keep everything. Like you said, it keeps popping up, and so the more he shows up on a bunch of different stuff is gonna determine whether or not this movie gets released. And then if he's in it so much that you can't even recast it.
You're right. There's no recasting. It would be great if they just threw Grant Gustafson in there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but maybe they'll do that as part of their 10-year plan. I feel like, how we always say, like, we come up with these goofy ideas and then they don't do them. I feel like DC needs to just take a room full of nerds, like in Hall H, and be like, okay, what do you guys want us to do? And we'd be like, bring in Arrow from the CW, bring in Grant Gustafson, like keep this, don't keep that. That's what they need to do, because we're the ones who watch it, and if we watch it, other people will watch it if we actually say it's good.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Superman and Lois really isn't bad. That's a pretty good show. I don't know if you guys seen that one at all.
Yeah, it's actually pretty good, Alan.
Yeah.
I've heard it's good.
And it's separated from the main CW universe, which is probably why it's good. And then Grant Gustafson, this is their last season for The Flash. Yeah. So it'd be a good opportunity for them to transition into, if they did want to go that route, which is dumb. Everybody was so upset that Ursa Miller got cast instead of Grant Gustafson, because usually that never happens in a TV show. Right. When it translates to the movies, where they're like, dude, he needs to be in that movie. I mean, their 10-year plan before was so bad. And I've told Alan this countless of times. They could easily, you've already established the CW characters like Arrow, The Flash, Black Lightning. That's your Justice League, guys. You could, you're not going to pay him any more money to be in the movie. So, I mean, it's just wasted opportunities, on their part. And hopefully they fix that.
Well, with that, ladies, gentlemen, and Knights of the Nerd World Order, this concludes this episode of the Nerd World Order broadcast. So until next time, ladies, gentlemen, and Knights of the Nerd World Order, I am NWO.
We are NWO.
Nerds Redefined. Booyah, baby.